Before we begin our ceremony, our department feels that in this historical moment, it's important for us to express our support for Asian Pacific Islander Desi American communities. So please allow me to introduce Professor Susie Wu and Professor Terry Snyder, who will be sharing the Department of American Studies statement against anti-Asian racism and violence.
On March 16, 2021, Robert Aaron Long targeted 3 Atlanta area spas and killed 8 people. Delana Ashley Yan, Zhaoji Tan, Dao Yu Feng, Paul Andre Mitchells, Hyunjung Grant, Sunchung Park, Suncha Kim, and Yong A.U., and critically injured Elcias Hernandez Ortiz. 6 of the victims were women of Asian descent. The mass killing occurred amidst a dramatic increase in anti-Asian violence during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Stop AAPI Hate, there have been over 6,600 hate incidents reported against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders nationwide over the last year. The Department of American Studies condemns these and all forms of racist, misogynistic, and xenophobic violence, and we stand together with Asian Pacific Islander Desi American communities. The Atlanta shootings have brought increased attention to acts of violence, harassment, and discrimination against Asian Americans. Yet the targeting of these groups have deep roots in the history of the United States. From the Chinese massacre in Los Angeles in 1871, to the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II, to the murder of Vincent Chin in 1982, and countless other attacks, anti-Asian racism has been linked to matters both domestic and international.
We in the Department of American Studies recognize this long history and condemn all forms of anti-Asian American violence and hate. We stand in solidarity with and seek to amplify the critical work of CSUF's Department of Asian American Studies, whose teaching, research, and community efforts are essential to change. We have been grateful for the statements and the resources shared by CSUF's Department of Asian American Studies and Chicano Studies. And to join in these efforts, we have created a resource list available on our website to provide historical context and to raise awareness, with the ultimate goal of ensuring the safety and equity of communities across and beyond the CSUF campus. What we do as students, faculty, staff, and community members matters, and we look forward to doing this important work together with you.
Cal State Fullerton is situated on unceded indigenous land claimed today by both the Tongva and the Ahachiman nations. For thousands of years before Europeans arrived, the Santa Ana River was lined by multilingual towns where Tongva and Ahachiman people lived with networks of reciprocity that can serve as an inspiration for us today as we all move into multicultural futures. So today, as we celebrate the achievements of the class of 2021, we also acknowledge the original stewards of this land, the Tongva and the Ahachiman, who are still here and still caring for Fullerton and the land around it.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Snyder, Chair and Professor of the Department of American Studies at California State University, Fullerton. It is a distinct honor as well as a great privilege to welcome you to this virtual commencement ceremony for the American Studies bachelor's and master's graduates of the class of 2021. Although we could not be together in person, we in American Studies wanted to organize this ceremony in order to celebrate and to honor our graduates and their families. Virtual though it is, this commencement is still a space for celebration and an occasion to reflect upon your tremendous accomplishment in achieving and earning your bachelor's and master's degrees. It also, of course, marks a critical turning point in your lives and your futures. Before we get to the celebration of our students, I want to acknowledge all of those people who supported and encouraged your academic journey in American Studies at CSUF. First, I want to thank the Faculty of American Studies. As department chair, I can testify firsthand to their dedication and to their sustained efforts on behalf of our American Studies students. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, I want to thank the parents and guardians of our American Studies graduates. I want to thank you for your help and for your work and for your dedication, for your love, really, in making this day a reality for our American Studies graduates. Those of you who never attended college deserve a special shout out for making the dream of a university education a reality for your sons and your daughters. And finally, I want to acknowledge the partners, the spouses, the families, and the friends who helped our American Studies students achieve their goals and supported them through the end. I know that some of you, some parents, some guardians, some family members, some friends, were also working from home during the last year. And at least a couple of you have remarked to me that you couldn't help overhearing and being engaged by the lectures and discussions you heard going on in the American Studies classes. So I also want to thank you for being part of our classrooms and for being part of the American Studies journey. And I sincerely hope that you enjoyed it. So, American Studies graduates, wherever you are, please join me in applauding and in giving up some gratitude to these key people who helped get you over the finish line of your college degree. I've been thinking a lot about what this commencement means for our American Studies graduates. And I was reflecting on what the class of 2021 must have felt when they stepped onto the CSUF campus for the first time to attend classes. I'll bet that many of you were irritated. I'm sure you all remember the trials of getting to campus and parking on campus. And I bet you were also anxious about how to track down your classrooms, how to find your professors, and how to meet up with your friends in a crowd of 30,000 plus other students. But I'm sure that none of you, as indeed none of us, could have imagined that you would finish your final year of studies in completely online, remote classes, and you would receive your degree via a virtual walk through this commencement celebration. And yet, here we are. To the graduates, I want to say this: your resilience was breathtaking. We watched as you dialed into your Zoom classrooms from your cars and your living rooms. We watched as you drove to campus or some other spot to find a strong Wi-Fi signal in order to make sure that your presentation reached your professors and your classmates in an uninterrupted fashion. And we listened to your class discussions and to your debates as you dove deeply into the study of history and culture. You ate up American studies, studies of race and ethnicity, gender and sexuality, childhood and mental health, gaming, movies, the body and the night. And we were grateful when you stood by us, your professors, with patience and with good humor, as we often grappled our way through the mysteries of Canvas and Zoom. Together, the American Studies community of students, faculty, and staff rose to the challenge of the past year. We persevered through a global pandemic that is still with us, and through a difficult and challenging year in our nation's history.
We witnessed last summer's uprisings against anti-Black racism in the wake of the murder of George Floyd and others. We witnessed a deadly attack on our nation's capital at the dawn of the new year. We witnessed a sharp rise in anti-Asian violence that has been part of the pandemic and protests in response to the mass killings of Asian Americans in Atlanta in the spring. We witnessed the continued separation of migrant parents and children at our southern borders. And we witnessed the deliberate use of social media to spread false, divisive, and hateful information in order to alarm and divide Americans. We also came together to discuss these events in our classes and in our forums and to forge a path forward. American Studies students know that these kinds of injustices and the resistance against injustice have a long history in the United States that goes all the way back to the founding. As American Studies students, you have thought deeply about the culture and the politics of the United States and what it means to belong to this nation. The very contested and evolving terrain of what it means to be an American has always been a part of your studies. And you have learned, to quote the LA-born poet Amanda Gorman, that being an American is more than a pride that we inherit. It is also the past we step into and the knowledge of how we repair it. Gorman, too, speaks of a kind of commencement, a new dawn, a new beginning, a turning point. Now is time, she writes, for lifting our gazes to not what stands between us, but what stands before us. What stands before us today, in part, is celebration. This virtual commencement ceremony celebrates the tremendous achievements of the class of 2021. We honor your intellectual and creative abilities, as well as the personal dedication and the many sacrifices that you made to complete your degrees. What is next for the American Studies graduates of the class of 2021? Well, if Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor were here, she would say, dream big. Your education has exposed you to what the world has to offer, to the possibilities that are wide open to you. This past year has made dreaming big difficult, but I know that the class of 2021 brings to the future knowledge and creativity and a commitment to a fair and just society. And you will pay this knowledge and creativity and commitment forward as you move into careers as educators and public servants, as artists and activists, and as innovators in business, media, science, and technology. And so, it is with great pride and high hopes that I congratulate you on finishing your degrees and that I dedicate this new beginning, this turning point, and this celebration to you, the CSUF American Studies graduates of the class of 2021.
Hi, I want to welcome you all to the American Studies commencement ceremony. And I just want to say thank you to the department for allowing me to say some remarks, given how proud I am of being an alum from this program back in the class of 1994. Our amazing students deserve a huge shout out for pushing forward in their final year at Fullerton, a completely virtual format. We want to recognize the following student and department accomplishments as part of this special day. First, our annual and award-winning student-organized and student-run American Studies Student Symposium took place with a week's worth of student speakers presenting on their incredible research during the week of April 5th via Zoom. American Studies students and faculty organized a series of virtual forums to discuss and contextualize momentous events of this past year, including the ongoing protest against racial injustice and the January 6th insurrection. These forums gave students, faculty, and staff an outlet to learn together and to reimagine a better future. Our talented cohort of MA students worked hard to complete their comprehensive exams and thesis projects, pressing on through unprecedented virtual meetings to finish their degree requirements. Congrats to 2 American Studies graduate students on winning acceptances to PhD programs out of state. Our valiant team of American Studies student editors worked tirelessly and remotely to produce this year's edition of the American Papers. Yay, the American Papers! A journal that our students have produced for nearly 40 years to feature some of the best papers from American Studies classes. American Studies students completed virtual internships despite the ongoing pandemic, gaining valuable skills in preparation for their future careers. Our remarkable group of graduating seniors wrapped up their classes, finishing rigorous research projects, detailed exams, reflective essays, and creative undertakings in visual art, poetry, and short films. Students nominated several American Studies faculty for the 2021 Titan Excellence Award, including professors Arlene Ring, Amanda Perez, Adam Golub, Sarah Fingal, Allison Kanaski, and Susie Wu. Congratulations to Professor Eric Gonzaba, whose Mapping the Gay Guides digital project won a National Endowment for the Humanities Award. Congrats as well to Professor and Chair Terry Snyder on the release of her newest co-authored book, As If She Were Free, a collective biography of women and emancipation in the Americas. Congratulations to all of you graduates. I'm so proud of you. And I just want you to know an American Studies degree is the wings that are going to help you to fly. And I want to watch your journey. Bye.
Hi friends, I'm Dr. Eric Gonzaba, an assistant professor of American Studies here at Cal State Fullerton. I have the honor of introducing to you this year's American Studies Award winners and graduation speakers. Now, it won't surprise you to hear that we have some really incredible students here in the American Studies Department. They are curious and creative scholars, hardworking volunteers, and just all-around inspiring folks. Each year, we have the opportunity to honor only just a few of our wonderful students with awards that recognize their many, many achievements. So without further ado, I present to you this year's award winners. The David John Vaca Memorial Undergraduate Scholarship is awarded each semester to an undergraduate student who demonstrates scholastic achievement and financial need. The Vaca Award is named after David Vaca, an alumnus of the CSUF American Studies Department, who was killed by a drunk driver in 1986. This scholarship is supported by generous donations from the Vaca family and American Studies alumni and faculty. The department is pleased to award the Fall 2020 David John Vaca Memorial Scholarship to Alicia Barajas Ritchie. The winner of the Spring 2021 David John Vaca Memorial Scholarship is awarded to Joseph Lee. The Napolin APC Undergraduate Scholarship was created by Alexander Napolin, a 2008 graduate of Cal State Fullerton. This scholarship is awarded to one student each semester on the basis of scholastic achievement and financial need. The winner of the Fall 2020 Napolin APC Scholarship is Nadine Bachter, and the Spring 2021 Napolin APC Scholarship goes to Alec Ainsworth. The Outstanding Reentry Student Award was funded by a generous donation from an American Studies major who herself had been a reentry student. This award is granted once a year to a graduating senior who either began or returned to college at least a decade after graduating high school. This year's winner of the Outstanding Reentry Student Award is Kathleen Laredo. Each year, the Department of American Studies awards an Academic Achievement Award to a graduating senior who has shown exceptional academic promise as reflected by their GPA and quality of mind they have shown in their career as an American Studies major. This year, we have two winners of the Academic Achievement Award, Nadine Bachter and Grace Johnson. The Susan Flinkenschelt Student Association Service Award is named in memory of Susan Flinkenschelt, an American Studies major who was killed in a tragic accident in 1992. This award is given each year to a student or students who have made exceptional contributions during that year to the success of the American Studies Student Association or the American Papers, our student-run journal. This year, we have 2 Flinkenschelt Award winners. The first 2020 to 2021 Susan Flinkenschelt Student Association Service Award winner is Michelle Okawa. And our second Flinkenschelt Award winner this year is Catherine Morales. In 1993, the Department of American Studies established the Earl James Weaver Graduate Essay Prize to honor the retirement of one of our department's founders, Dr. Earl James Weaver. This prize, which is awarded once per year, goes to the best paper written by an American Studies graduate student during the preceding year. This year, the Earl James Weaver Graduate Essay Prize went to Raymond Gandera for his essay Imperial Machinery, the Roads, Camineros, and Engineers of the U.S.-Occupied Philippines. In addition to these award winners, each year the Department of American Studies selects 2 speakers, 1 undergraduate student and 1 graduate student, to represent the department at our commencement ceremony. This year's speakers are Elena Sidney and Nadine Proctor, and it is my great honor to get to introduce you to them today. Our first student speaker today, Elena Sidney, received her MA in American Studies from Cal State Fullerton in fall 2020. Previously, she attended UC Irvine for her BA in African American Studies and Asian American Studies. As a graduate student at Cal State Fullerton, she served as an intern for the Academic Advising Center on campus through the American Studies internship course. Elena was also the graduate student assistant for the Asian Pacific American Resource Center on campus for 2 years, where she facilitated events and programming on diversity, equity, and social justice for students. Currently, Elena serves as the ECS Retention Specialist at Cal State Fullerton and uses her skills from the American Studies degree to provide academic advisement that centers the student experiences and goals. In her free time, Elena enjoys watching Star Trek, anime, bubble milk tea, and hanging out with her 2 cats, Agnes and Fluffles. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Elena Sidney, our graduate student speaker.
Good afternoon to all faculty, staff, graduates, and beloved family joining us here today. My name is Elena Sidney, and I'm honored to speak to you all. In fall of 2017, I began my academic journey as a graduate student in the American Studies program at Cal State Fullerton. As graduate students, we all had valid experiences that shaped who we are today and our understanding of American society. As scholars of American Studies, we draw from multiple branches of knowledge. We're trained to be inquisitive and critical by nature and acknowledge the intersections of politics, class, race, gender, and sexuality on American culture. So, in true American Studies fashion, I did a deep dive of the traditional commencement speech. In my deep dive, I saw that many of the speeches perpetuates a "your life starts now" rhetoric. And so for many of American Studies students, as well as graduate students, we tend to not have the traditional college experience. Many of us identify as people of color, women, LGBTQ, working class, first generation, and children of immigrants that shaped our college experience. We know that our lives didn't begin when we joined this amazing Titan community. Instead, our lives began a little bit earlier on when we were interpreters for our family members, educators and tutors for our younger siblings and relatives, caretakers of our elderly and our sickly, and carriers of our deeply rich culture and history in our family and communities. So instead, I would like to offer my fellow American Studies graduate students a reminder of one of my favorite takeaways from courses, discussions, and readings as scholars in American Studies, which is, ideas are not formed in a vacuum. Our incredible faculty members at Cal State Fullerton have instilled in our learning the importance of ideas in American society and how they shape who is American, what we defined as America, and how that has changed over time. We were encouraged to unpack, unlearn, and explore and grapple with issues, and engage in discourse about a variety of subjects and topic matters, from love in America to monsters in America to the American character and workforce. In my personal experience, I participated in the American Studies Symposium my first year as a graduate student, in which my fellow peers and I organized a panel on monsters in America. And on this panel, we got a chance to explore how creatures of the night, such as vampires, werewolves, right, and serial killers, exist to scare, excite, and represent ideas of America's fears and anxieties about cultural and ethnic others, as well as things that were classified as abnormal ideas. I also attended 2 colloquiums and built a sense of community with peers and faculty, both new and old. I also got a chance to TA under Professor Susie Wu, a section of American Studies 201, where I was able to assist with the wider Titan community's ability to understand, analyze, and question some of America's most oldest value systems and ideas, and how they changed over time. With no doubt, the past 2 years in our society has been difficult, filled with racial strife, unjust hates and violence, economic disenfranchisement, harmful policies that would have rippling effect for generations to come. And in addition, we also did our last year and a half in our program in the middle of a global pandemic. What a time to be an American Studies scholar, to be equipped with tools to produce both macro and micro level changes in our society. What a time to be an American Studies scholar, to be armed with the ability to apply an intersectional and interdisciplinary lens to our world. What a time and privilege it has been to ask questions, challenge the status quo, problem solve alongside you all. So whether you are a faculty member, a staff, a graduate, or a beloved family member, I urge you to question, challenge, and dig deeper about anything and everything. And to my American Studies graduates in the class of 2021, I am inspired by your commitment to your educational goals during this unique time in American history, and I'm so proud of you all. Thank you for this opportunity.
Our second student speaker today, Nadine Bachter, earned her bachelor's degree in American Studies and Psychology. She had earned her associate's degree in Psychology and Arts and Human Expression at Fullerton College in the fall of 2018 and had previously attended the Faculty of Mass Communication at Cairo University before she decided to move to the United States with her family. Nadine served as Student Affairs Assistant at the Admissions and Records Office at Fullerton College and went on to become an Instructional Student Assistant at the University Learning Center at Cal State Fullerton. Nadine plans to take a year off before applying for her master's degree. Nadine's hobbies include reading, hiking, writing, painting, baking, and finding the best coffee spots around. And she's always on the hunt for good Mediterranean food. I am so pleased to introduce to you our final student speaker today, Nadine Bachter.
Congratulations to every one of you in the graduating class of 2021, and I'm so honored to be here. So, we're finally at the finish line, although it hasn't been easy. I mean, look at the year that we've had. Our senior year was pretty eventful. From a deadly global pandemic that upended life as we know it, to a movement calling for racial justice that rocked the entire world, to a turbulent election, to an attempted overthrow of our government, it's safe to say that we've had quite a few distractions from our academic life. The mental, physical, and even emotional toll this past year took on us should not be underestimated. But now I think it's time for us to just take a deep breath and drink it all in. We've made it. Now, our celebration today does not invalidate or make light of the profound losses that our communities, our country, and the whole world has endured. But it's such moments of joy that propel us to move forward and give us the strength to persevere and overcome. I think many of us at several points during our American Studies education have wished that we had just stayed in blissful ignorance. It's almost a curse to be burdened with such knowledge, but it's also a blessing, and most of all, it's a responsibility. I admire all of you for having the responsibility, the courage, and the love for your community, enough to come face to face with uncomfortable and disheartening truths. I have full confidence that we will be carrying with us the tools, the love, the skills, and the motivation to make this country a better, more loving place. Truly, a sanctuary for the tired, poor, huddled masses yearning to breathe free, as Emma Lazarus said in her poem, The New Colossus. Like many of my fellow students, I never planned to major in American Studies. I took 2 classes during my first semester here at CSUF after I transferred from Fullerton College. They just fit in my schedule and they seemed interesting enough. Then I decided to take 2 more the next semester, and then a few more after that, until I realized I had almost all the requirements for a bachelor's degree. My love for American Studies snuck up on me and hit me at full force at the same time. It was the way that we were encouraged to think for ourselves, the way that we were allowed to disagree with the authors whose books and articles that we read, and the way that we were in constant conversation with our professors and colleagues that drew me to this place, and I'm a better scholar and person for it. This year, many of us had the pleasure of meeting Carla Cornejo Villavicencio, the author of The Undocumented Americans, for a panel discussion on Zoom. She was enlightening in so many ways. We talked about immigration, writing, mental health, and community relations. But the moment that struck me the most was when my fellow panelists asked her about imposter syndrome. That is, the feeling that one doesn't belong in the space they occupy, which is felt disproportionately by women and minorities. Carla taught us that the term imposter syndrome was spread by elite white male gatekeepers just so they could give those women and minorities, and especially minority women, a seemingly logical reason why they're made to feel uncomfortable in academic and professional spaces. They just didn't want to take accountability for the hostile environment that they created. It's a term that I've used to make myself smaller, more agreeable. I've used it countless times to take fewer risks and to reduce my risk of rejection. As I look back, I realize how deeply I felt for that concept of imposter syndrome. But I'm glad to know what I know now, and I hope that I stop bowing down to fit into spaces that cannot and will not accommodate me or help me grow. And I hope that you join me in that endeavor. I want to thank everyone in this department, faculty, staff, and students, for making American Studies a safe and productive space where we could process everything going on, put it in context, and connect it to the character of our country and its relationship with the rest of the world. As an immigrant, it was very difficult for me to understand why certain things happened the way that they did in the US. The conversations that we had, though academic, were almost therapeutic as well. Now, let me finish up by saying, let's just take a deep breath, and I'm asking you to bask in your accomplishments, in the way that your loved ones' faces are shining with pride today. As we begin this new stage in our journey, I hope that you feel empowered to take up the space that you deserve. You can do so much more than you think. Thank you and congratulations.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam Golub, and I am the Graduate Advisor for the American Studies MA program. I'm here today to help us celebrate those students who are earning the Master of Arts degree in American Studies after completing 30 units of study, including a culminating project that was either a master's thesis or a written, comprehensive examination. These students have all worked incredibly hard to broaden and deepen their interdisciplinary understanding of American culture and history. They have truly mastered the art of learning how to analyze American life in all of its interconnecting contexts. In recognition of their achievement of a master's degree, graduates and candidates are invested with a hood, symbolizing the completion of graduate work. The length of the hood to the middle of the back designates a master's degree. The satin lining of royal blue and white, our university colors, signifies that the degree was granted by Cal State Fullerton. And the color of the trim indicates the discipline of American Studies. I now present to you the graduates and candidates in American Studies for the Master of Arts degree.
Ricardo Cordova, Laura Favor, Evelyn Franco, Jonathan Garcia, Tremaine Huang, Aisha Monks Hussein, Monica Morales Garcia, Julia Adelina Opria, Sierra Rivera, Brandon Rock, Rachel Ann Seymour, Elena Sidney,
Congratulations to all of you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Professor Sarah Fingal. It is an honor to be part of your celebration today, and it is my great pleasure to now present you the graduates and candidates in American Studies for the Bachelor of Arts degree.
Luis Agbulos, Ana Aguilar, Michelle Anaya, Gabriela Angeles, Lydia Archuleta, Marissa Banuelos, Alicia Barajas Ritchie, Arcadia Borelli, Christiana Bashian, Darian DJ Binkley, Nadine Bachter, Allison Carney, Jennifer Castro, Justin Cesario, Jared Cuica, Nathan Davis, Nicholas Duskin, Brianna Eastlick, Marcel Espinosa, Juan Estrada, Margaret Flanagan, Stacy Flores, Sarah Fong, Giselle Gallegos, Isaiah Garcia, Andrew Gendro, Xochitl Gonzalez, Frankie Guevara, Andreana Gijarro, Jennifer Lorena Gutierrez Gavidia, Samantha Hadj, Celeste Hernandez, Josephine Hernandez, Liliana Huerta, Grace Johnson, Michael Lara, Stephen Lavelli, Joseph Lee, Colleen Logasa, Alfredo Lopez, Amber Lopez, Gaidi Lopez, Kathleen Laredo, Savannah Maskey, Alicia Mejia, Kimberly Morales, Selena Muckbell, Sydney Nathan, Bao Chao Nguyen, Carrie Nicholson, Diana Pacheco, Rebecca Peckfelder, Callie Petri Juarez, Samuel Pimentel, Diana Pinto, Samantha Ramos, Tristan Ramsey, Meryl Reinhart, Alyssa Rodriguez, Alyssa Rodriguez, Melissa Rodriguez, Vanessa Santos, Morgan Schultz, Taylor Sklern, Brendan Smith, Evan Spiva, Cameron Travers, Josh Earps, Alyssa Valdez, Kenneth Van, Trisha Vasquez, Edith Verduzco, Connor Wallace, Ty Wallace, Sarah Wernley,
Congratulations, class of 2021.
No matter what career path you choose or where life takes you, know that you will be kinder, more compassionate, and more aware of your historical and cultural impact because of American Studies.
Now, more than ever, this world needs the insight, knowledge, and passion you have cultivated through your studies within this department. Go forth and make the world a better place.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, class of 2021. I'd like to congratulate you for this momentous occasion and also for your resiliency this past year.
Congratulations to the classes of 2020 and 2021. You've done an amazing job. You've worked so hard, especially through everything, and I just want to give you a big congratulations.
Hey, class of 2021. You graduated under the most extraordinary circumstances imaginable. So hats off to you. Congratulations.